Dear colleagues, dear participants, and let's not forget about our online audience, which keeps listening to our sessions. Now we are going to listen to a presentation by the general manager or CEO and president of Logos International, Sergey Gladkov. Sergey will talk about ITS 2.0 specification. We are glad to welcome you here at UT conference.
And so please welcome.
Okay, well, this presentation is being broadcasted online, right? So I'll be speaking English for the audience because I want to get the ITS word out for a lot more people, and I hope you are translators and you can understand English, right? And translators will have this. So this presentation is about the future of localization, and it follows in the trail of excellent presentation of Kimmo Rossi, because Kimmo has outlined you the projects that basically lay the foundation of the future for the localization technology. And I wouldn't say that it's practically feasible for Russian or Ukrainian translation companies to actually participate in European projects. However, Kimmo gave very good overview of the practically implemented European projects, which gave fruition to the technologies that has been funded by the European Commission. And as a technology, you can use those in your work because they've been exactly promoted to give the technology the way out to the practice. So the most useful slides from Kimmo's presentation is not about European programs and such, but about the projects that have been completed and then are more or less ready to be used by language technology, by LSPs and translators in Russia and Ukraine. And this is a same kind of project. The project for internationalization TACSAT, ITS 2.0, which is basically the future, which is of tomorrow, but now it's getting more and more close, and it's getting closer because of this project's WICS, Work in Context project, and that I'm going to explain about. Okay, this project was part of the W3C Multilingual WebLT program. As W3C is a Worldwide Web Consortium, which is based in Massachusetts and is global. It's basically the consortium that is doing the standards for the global web, funded by Visionary, who has founded the W3C. And under W3C, there has been a multilingual WebLT program funded by European Commission, led by DFKI, which is German Institute of Artificial Intelligence. And under this program, my company, we've been a subcontractor, and we did the practical implementation for DFKI into the using actually the implementation of ITS TACSAT for the localization industry. Now I'm going to explain to you why is it important for the industry. Can you please do the next slide for me? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead. Okay. Well, there's a lot of text. You will not. Yeah. Well, you need probably to make the screen darker a little bit. But anyway, I'll be talking. So why W3C is relevant at all to the localization, to the translation industry, and what ITS has to do with it. Now, I'll give you the try to give you the, actually this is a fairly advanced stuff. However, I will try to explain it to you in this way. Consider this: some time ago, we only had Windows PCs and a lot of different and Microsoft Office on it, which was kind of a unified platform that everybody was working with. Now today, we have a totally different landscape. Today, we have PCs, we have laptops, tablets, mobile devices with all of the different platforms on them. It's mostly Android flavors. It's Apple stuff. It's Windows 8. It's Xbox. It's gaming consoles. And all of other devices, and actually the number of devices and the number of platforms is going to grow. It's going to be different software running on them. And there is no more one operating system. However, what is in common between all those devices? There's only one thing in common between them. It's HTML5. It's the markup web standard, which you do in every browser on any platform, which gives you access to the content and to the application, because HTML5 can also, due to the new improvements in HTML5, can also run the code. So browser is the platform itself for the software to run on it. So the HTML5 is therefore the carrier of the information and the content. Now consider this, that's everything that is running into the information landscape is going through the HTML5, because it's going through the devices, it's going through the web, it's going to the browsers, it's going through the HTML5. So all the content that we get should be in HTML5 somehow. Okay, when you work as a translator, you will get it in all kinds of formats. So you can have it in its transport format, XLEAF, or you can get it in some kind of proprietary client. However, somewhere between the route and along the way, it will go in HTML5. Now, there are a lot of other technical trends. There's also XML used a lot, and other formats. However, the content is getting fragmented. So you're not getting the projects are now changing their size. There's fewer and fewer larger projects and more smaller projects, and more smaller pieces that you're getting without context. You're getting small pieces. Sometimes you get one page as a translator. Sometimes the company is getting some kind of a drop without any knowledge about the generic kind of landscape, the cloud-based system or other huge system which has been taken from. So you're getting the pieces of translation without the context, without the knowledge of where it is taken from, and without the information that would help you to translate, without the glossary, which may be somewhere lost along the way because some LSP didn't actually give it to you for translation. So the end user of this content piece, translator, has to do his own research on the internet to do the glossary research, to understand where is it coming from, and to do all kind of things that he should not be doing because it's a job of an LSP or a job of the end client to provide this information for him on the hand to translate better or to post-edit it better or to do his own work and most efficiently, not to waste the time. So the key thing is the context. So the question is how to make sure that the translator who is translating, or the LSP, or the company who is doing the translation work, how does it get the context information that would help it to translate into the target language? Now the question, the way that has been invented and pioneered by the World Wide Web Consortium is to create the internationalization tag set, ITS, which would create a certain predefined set of tags embedded into HTML5, so that within the HTML5 you have additional tags called ITS tags that would include that information. So it is in the material that is passing through the supply chain. So even then, even that in the situation when LSP is unable to provide the context, or the client is more or less ignorant, or something is broken along the way, still you would get that contextual information in the metadata that is embedded in HTML5s or in XML or in XLIF, so that the translator, post editor, or some kind of an automated system will get additional information. The goal of this particular project was to visualize ITS. However, the purpose of the ITS is to have actually this information in HTML5 or in XLIF or in XML so that it can be used at all. Okay, so the tag set, the ITS tag set, includes a number of categories for crucial importance to translator, such as terminology node and localization node metadata, translate yes/no metadata to mark non-translatable text, and it basically makes possible to include various instructions for translators into documents, add terminology and comments, and mark non-translatable segments. So this will allow, the ITS will allow to actually put that information into the HTML5, into XLIF, into the XML, and pass it along the various formats conversion through all those formats, so that it is at hand when actually the human will be working on the material. Can you please give the next slide? Okay. How can it be used for the industry by the translation companies? Because again, all of this is fairly technical stuff, but what is the practicality of it for the LSP or for the actual translation company? Well, it will make possible to comment translatable content, for example, irrespective of its nature. These instructions that are embedded for translation may be easily accessible to translators and editors. We may include recommendations, instructions, terminology suggestions, and independently from translation tools, which is a crucial thing. Every line here is important. What does it mean, independent from translation tools? You're working in so many tools. It's Stratus, it's WordFast, it's maybe some web kind of editor like Translate 5 or other things. But if ITS is used, then we know that from any format, for any tool that is ITS enabled, can show this information, even though it's a different tool and different format. That's the key part of it. So that's why ITS as a carrier of this additional localization translation information is important for the translation industry. Now, of course, the purpose of using actually this metadata, which is not the data itself, but explanation about the data. The metadata benefit is that the text is already marked with context information, and the actual information workers, Microsoft calls it, doesn't have to think whether something needs to be translated or not, doesn't have to think whether something is a term or not. And of course, for the end user, end worker, information worker, the advantage would be, the benefit would be time, quality, and also that would be important for machine translation applications. And that, of course, can you please do the next slide for me? Yeah. Really? Okay. Okay, good. Again, what it is for, it is important for natural language processing tools, for markups, for using external terminology, glossaries, embedding localization instructions and reference data, as pre-processing is controlled by dedicated qualified linguists, terminologists, and editors. Because the key thing is that somewhere along with this big call for technology, which is totally valid, of course, the human is lost along the way. And sometimes people are completely lost between the, all these big systems and very fairly advanced tools. And the end user translator is kind of abandoned and does not give enough, he is being not given enough attention, enough help to actually translate the stuff with additional, information for it. So, what is it that we have actually developed? The ITS 2.0 was a standards project. So the team from W3C has developed the ITS 2.0 standard, has developed the structure of tags, typology, or where to put what is the kind of different metadata was put in different HTML5. Okay, so but how do we actually use it? It was necessary to provide the implementation example. How would you use it? So this project which we've done, it's called Wix, Working Context System, was an implementation project. The purpose of the project was to show how the ITS tag set can be practically useful for the translator in his work. How can he use it in applications and in actual work? So it was an implementation project, a part of multilingual WebLT program. The idea of the project is that we created the certain software, the JavaScript, to make it possible to view standard ITS translation-related metadata contained in XML or HTML file, which can be done in parallel with translating using cut tools or for reviewing materials. For example, if you are getting the material in certain tool and some cut tool, okay, and this cut tool only allows you to translate. It does not show you the ITS tags because it's not ITS enabled yet, for example. Then you can use this viewer, Wix viewer, to open the same file and see the metadata in the browser window and actually see the context information of that thing. That idea has a lot of implementations, actually. And we've been sort of trying to demonstrate how this can be implemented. So we created a standard-based preview solution, which was based on JavaScript, which is in a web browser. And the script is located in the same folder as the files to be previewed. The script is started by the browser automatically. Basically, the previous version of the tool is available on GitHub. We put it there because all the European Commission projects have public result. We have improved the tool significantly since then because our developers in my company are one of the top developers in the world. So the ITS software, the JavaScript, has been significantly improved since then. A new version is much more robust and shows more, but the previous version is still available on the GitHub. So that's basically the sort of the high level again overview of the project. So the ITS metadata enriched XML or XLIF file. And we have to preview in the browser ITS metadata in web browser while translating content in any cut tool. And the standard preview solution is a JavaScript, so it can work in any web browser. Normally we use Firefox because it's more standard for HTML, but also other browsers also work. And of course, the next step is to actually practically using the tools ITS metadata as a carrier for localization instructions and any reference data, and also the support on XLIF 1.2 and 2.0 formats. Again, this is fairly advanced stuff. Consider this: XLIF 2.0 is a very important standard. Nearly all of the material that you receive today and for translation is going to be in XLIF, in some kind of an XLIF. And it could be XLIF 2.0 standard, or it could be a Microsoft tailored XLIF, or it could be, well, other flavors of XLeaf, more or less standard. However, if XLeaf uses ITS tags, which is the standard, again, tag set, then the Wix viewer or any kind of ITS-enabled software can use this markup and actually work on this localization metadata. So the project was consisting of these things. First, we've done visual designs. So we've done some kind of a sketch how this translator can view this IDS information on screen. Then we actually coded the JavaScript to render and navigate metadata in content. And I can tell you that actually the browser is a very complex software. When the Firefox or Internet Explorer or Chrome opens the file, it actually builds in the memory the huge DOM architecture of the HTML. And the trick of the Wix project was actually write the JavaScript that is capable to read all this information, parse it, and actually show it on screen. There are very few companies in the world that can do this stuff. It's a very, very advanced coding. And we did this on this project. It's now available again publicly. However, there's a next version also. And another trick to do this project was to prepare rich sample files, because it's not enough, of course, to code it, but also you need to prepare data itself to show how the data is rendered in the browser window for the translator or for the editor, and provide practically understandable examples. Because, of course, at the point of doing this project, there was no existing data because, well, ITS wasn't used. So we have to prepare data itself to demonstrate how it works. So we decided to use this kind of example stuff. That something to translate was, render gray color, language information with a gray color, localization note with green, terminology localization note yellow, terminology green, disambiguation pink. So these are the categories that ITS data is using for embedding metadata into the HTML, XLeaf, or XML file formats. This was a visualization design. And then we sort of invented these, symbols, which are not fairly new. They are actually standard editors nodes, which are very familiar for the editors, post editors or translators. How would the editor usually, when you're doing this on paper, you are doing this stuff? That's any translator who have seen editor markup on paper understand what these things mean, because these are more or less standard. That's how editor markups the text. We've included directionality, elements within text, domain, locale filter, provenance, target pointer, ID value, localization quality rating, empty confidence, allowed characters, and storage size. So all these things we've sort of all of these things we've sort of designed. And this is the example of the markup. And this is the example of visualization. So on the top, you will see the HTML5 coding, and the below is the idea how it would visualize. How would it visualize for the user? Well, now I need to do the live demo. Well, for that, I would need to connect my computer to the to the screen, to HDMI screen. Yeah, let's do it. Да.
Я так понимаю, что вот это понадобится местным переводческим агентствам, когда уже разметка будет очень популярной, да, когда ее будет использовать множество разработчиков. Есть ли сейчас, может быть, какая-то программа для подготовки проект-менеджеров, чтобы они могли вникнуть в этот вопрос на ранней стадии?
Программы учебных... Да, есть. Есть. Что имеется, сейчас я скажу. Во-первых, имеется видео, которое Арль Ламель подготовил как часть программы, вот, собственно, завершения проекта. Это видео есть на YouTube. Если вы погуглите ITS на YouTube, то вы там увидите видеофильм, который... Так, end of slideshow, click to exit. Perfect. Okay. No, that's okay. Well, this is the example of how Wix viewers work. Okay, this is already something that I opened already, but I will show you how it actually, so for some reason, okay. Open Windows Explorer. Just a moment. Kiev. Don't do this, okay? Okay. Now, this is just to show you how this actually works, the previewer, to explain to you how it works. This is the folder with the files. Okay, there's a lot of HTML files here on the other stuff. Okay. Here we see what? We see Wix viewer HTML. Well, this file is actually the HTML file which runs the browser. Because if you're going to click this, it will run the browser. In HTML file, there is a code, there's a tag that runs Wix JavaScript. So this small file of 64 kilobytes is actually the file that holds the code, and fairly advanced code. And when you run it, you will see the browser window with a top, things on it, on the top of the window. This is the code, actually, because browser is now a kind of a platform, the operating system platform that runs the program, JavaScript program, that allows this in the browser window. And here you see the buttons to navigate through the text. And here you see the button to open the file. Okay, we click, they open the file, and we will now do the same thing, and we will now do the, okay, we'll see the same stuff. We'll see the same stuff demo. And we will open the navigation HTML file. And here now we see the whole thing, okay? The whole thing is the browser window. On the top, you will see the actually navigation buttons, and which will allow you to navigate through the text. And here we see this text. This is the example that what you can see. For example, when you get the material to translate in some kind of a tool, which can be any kind of tool, which is now maybe even non-existent. However, if this tool opens the file which is ITS enabled, then in this format, like for example HTML5 or XLIF, then we can open it in the Wix viewer, and you can see here that, for example, the different things here. For example, the lock note. This is the stuff that you can see. As you can see, this tool shows you the metadata that is in this file embedded in ITS tags. Is it clear enough? So this stuff, this code allows you to see as a translator this metadata, which will help you to translate the text or edit it or do whatever any kind of work that you do as a human, because Wix project is a human enabler, is enabling translator, editor as human people. I mean, as people. It's not for some kind of system. It's for you. It's for translator, editor, or project manager to actually enable their translation workflow. So this is it, and this is basically this stuff. Okay, and well, here you have in the beginning, you see the button here. You can click it, and so you can see that it walks through these things to basically show you the thing. Okay. Well, the demo is here. I can send it to anyone for review, or you can get it from GitHub. There is a newer version of the code. Also, again, answering your question, there are videos on YouTube, and since I have internet, I guess I can find them here. If we go to YouTube, then you can see. Well, let's try to get those videos. It's ITS. Then you will see here. Okay, text set, TS markup, International ITS 2.0 maybe. Okay. Yeah, this is the video which was prepared by Arl Lamel, and there are also other videos that you can see. This can be Felix Sasaki, as you can see, who is DivKai and actual W3C consortium leader on this project. And by looking into this video, there's a fairly highly overview of all this stuff, for which you can be used, of course, for training. And also on the Logos channel, there is also this video with Russian subtitles, with Russian track, so you can have this as well. This project was made possible due to the European Commission funding and the DFKI work, which is a very highly, fairly advanced institution. And again, of course, because of the cooperation between the W3C consortium and all of these institution agencies. Well, so that's how it happened. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your attention. And now, if you have other questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Нам пришел первый вопрос из интернета. Если вы...
Well, the first question from the internet, and if I may, I will be asking those in Russian, Sergey, if you don't mind. And the question is from Alexander Terehov from Intext Company. Which resource can be considered the key one for familiarizing with the standard? But as far as I understand, these are YouTube videos. No, it depends on the level of knowledge you want to get about the standard. If you want to learn about the standard at some general level, then of course watch the videos, because those videos will provide you with some understanding of what we are talking about. If you're interested in the standard itself, you have to visit W3C Consortium website, www.w3c.org, and there at their website ITC 2.0 сейчас стала рекомендацией World Wide Web консорциума, то есть весь мир видит, что теперь это стандарт. So somewhere there, deep into that website, there is a standard published, and it's quite a sophisticated sort of specifications, quite advanced one, because all this stuff, well, yeah, probably the first one, probably the first link, yeah. Yeah, so what do we got there? Yeah, that's basically the description of the standard. So if you need some technical knowledge, then of course you have to go there, and there you will get the specifications with all those details, as well as project descriptions, because Wix is of course not the only project. This is one of several projects implemented to show how this stuff can be used. So there, buried deep into that large document, there is this table of contents, introduction, key concepts, and so on. And of course, it's about implementation, description, data categories. You see descriptions of those categories. And somewhere there you will also see implementations. There are other projects described in addition to Wix, which I told you about, other projects which also use that ITS standard. Of course, the standard has been created. Why has it been done using W3C? Because W3C consortium defines, shapes the future for the internet, and HTML5 enables us to use the same sort of information on all sorts of devices. This is the only thing in common which we now have. This is like the carrier platform, HTML5. So HTML5 now has the tool which allows embedding information that our industry needs into that material. So now that we have the thing, more and more developers will start using it, using that information, embedding there, and ITS will be used, and it will be used simply because ITS2 is part of HTML5 now. That's very important. Please raise your hand if you have any questions, and then I will give you the microphone and then ask my last question. I'm Kirill Solovyov from Acronis. Sergey, thank you for your presentation. I'm probably one of the few people in this audience from the customer side. I have a very practical question. ITS2 is great, but do you have any recommendations, any suggestions, you or community at large, who has to implement it, to embed it in the content, and how it will happen? If possible, please share a couple of thoughts. A great question. Who can start implementing it and embedding the metadata in the content using the IITS? Who can and who should be using it? Yeah, who can and who should do it? So two questions in one. Well, the essence is this. There is no one global government worldwide. There is no global entity which would force everybody to use ITS. However, that said, as I just said, since ITS is now part of HTML5, first of all, there are several ways, at least I see several ways, several mechanisms enabling the use of ITS. For example, there is some XYZ Corp, say Apple or somebody, or Microsoft or Google, or any corporation for that matter. And of course they are using open standards. Why? Because when you use open standards, you don't depend on tools developer. So of course they benefit from using HTML, from using XLIF, and Microsoft has been very much interested in XLIF. Of course, XLIF is a transport level standard, a carrier, which will be used throughout the industry. So everybody, including Apple and Microsoft and Oracle, everybody has been using XLIF now. SDL has been using XLIF. Of course, they have a bit different sort of XLIF, but still it's XLIF. There are some differences, but still. So, the first reason to use ITS is the fact that developers of tools want their tools to be used as much as possible. So if the toolkit developer uses their own flavor, then it makes life easier, but also more difficult for them. So this is a tricky thing. It's about how open standards are used and why corporate standards may be a double-edged sword for a technology company. Such companies may use standards to protect their competitive advantages or to spread the use of their tools. But one of the ways for toolset developers is to use open standards to make their tools used as broadly as possible. And of course, one of the ways to spread the ITS is this desire of toolkit developers that their tools have to be used as broad as possible. If I develop some tools, I will be using ITS because there's no other way to make those metadata used as wide as possible. On the customer side, for example, customer may want to optimize and streamline their processes. For example, that customer has been using both companies supplying services to them and freelancers, and I, the customer, want to streamline content development process, and I also want to bridge the gap between the documentation development and content development. And the natural way to get some additional opportunities here to increase productivity and so on is about using ITS, because if you use the same metadata throughout the process, then of course you can actually use the same metadata at every stage of the process. So from the customer side, the use of ITS is about yet another opportunity to save somehow. For example, you can use your terminology experts so that the translation company would not be the only owner of terminology expertise, but you, the customer, can use terminologies somehow independently from the whole process. For example, it's possible that the customer wants to have that ITS markup in the content so that it will be easier to make terminologies independent from the LSP, and then you will improve your quality of terminology process management. Thank you, Sergey. I see that there are many practical difficulties in this area. We can discuss them off stage if you're interested. Thank you. Yeah, we always have some difficulties. No more questions? Okay, my last question then will be this. Sergey, what is your vision of the future for the adoption of this ITS standard? Who is to promote it? Because now, as far as I understand, it's for early adopters, for the most advanced people. When, more or less, can we expect that it will mature to some critical mass? Well, I'll provide you with one specific example. One of the projects funded by the European Commission is about LT Innovate consortium. LT Innovate is a consortium of technology providers serving the industry, catering to the industry, and creating tools for the industry. LT Innovate, for example, they have XTM among their members. You all know Andrei Zidron. And if you ask Andrei Zidron, which company is the best in using open standards, he will say, we, XTM, are the best because we support every standard. And he's right. Indeed, XTM has been using every standard, and believe me, XTM will be using ITS too, because there are companies who understand the future of technology development, and they agree upon the need of using open standards. So XTM will be using ITS. So the most advanced technology companies will gradually grasp that standard. It's difficult to say how fast it will happen, but I can tell you that we will be promoting ITS. Our company will be offering its customers some technology novelties because we have that knowledge, that expertise, and we believe that this is the right way. And in a similar way, other companies will try and do similar things, because all market players, software developers and translation companies alike will naturally try and gain some competitive advantage in their customers' view or on the technology side, and this is one of the ways to get that. So it will come from technology providers and technology-savvy LSPs, yeah, but the critical mass will be there when some big software company will start using it, like Microsoft or Apple. Yes, indeed, and I believe that it will happen rather sooner than later, because there are people within Microsoft and other technology companies who are involved in developing those standards, and they have said more than once that as soon as there is a final version of XLEAF, we will start using it. And XLEAF is a prerequisite, the most needed thing in this whole idea. So XLEAF is a prerequisite, and now it has been finalized, and XLEAF will be using ITS, and So therefore, in HTML5, yeah, technology providers will be using it, and I believe that it will happen rather soon, quite soon. Maybe 1 year, this year. Well, difficult to say. Well, Wix, we already have Wix. So any and every technology-savvy, technology-advanced company can already start using it. We already have it. You can use it today to create some technology solutions. The question is, who will be the first to invent a way to make money on it by developing some tool or by streamlining some process. As soon as it happens, that player will become a locomotive, so to say. And I can repeat that there have already been companies who have been working, even at this stage when we have been working on the standard. It's not only about Wix. There are some implementations, some other projects already using ITS. And there are smaller technology companies, technology startups created based on that and promoting it. So there are seeds already planted and they will grow. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sergey. Let us thank our speaker. Thank you very much for listening to this long, boring presentation of mine.